is gonna pump the water where?
So the aim would be for the water to flow more. So right now it's quite stagnant and we're getting a lot of bubbles settling on the surface.
Is that pump to suck the water from here and pump it there, for example? Is that?
Very much. It's just to turn the water flow around, because right now the water's got very high surface tension, and that's how you can see all the bubbles settling, because the tension of the water is high. Now if you look up there, there's no bubbles on the surface because the water is well broken. If you look up on this pond, see here, no bubbles. So this one has got low surface tension. So the bubbles are attracted to high surface tension. So here, very good water flow. And that means good redox potential and good dissolved oxygen levels. And these fish are very good. And then the water comes down here, oxygenates it beautifully. And then this section here, the water's a little bit more stagnant, and that's why we're seeing the bubbles. So the way that we reduce surface tension is we just put like a pump and we angle it and we try and get it flowing more. That would be very good for these fish, and will stop these bubbles, because we're going to lower the surface tension, we're going to increase the dissolved oxygen level, and we're going to increase the redox potential of the water. But the long and short of it is the fish I'm looking at are very healthy. That fella's a little bit skinny, and the one under the bridge is a little bit skinny.
He hasn't been eating.
So once again, like Grandpa, when Grandpa gets very old, we don't know that the fish under the bridge isn't, we don't know you haven't had it for 10 years, and we didn't know the person that sold it to you may have had it for 20 years. We don't know that. I need to get a really clear look of it, because that might give me an indication. But the only fish I'm worried about right now is that one. And he is a little bit skinny. This one's a slight bit skinny. Yeah. This guy's good. So once we look at the conditioner and we look at the food, we might be able to improve it. But really, most of these fish are very healthy. Okay, so this one says do not touch. This one says waterfall. And that one seems to be connected to this one. And that seems to be working fine. Now, this one says do not touch. This one says filters. And that one is connected to that one. And those two are together, because they're on the same power point. One power point, two pumps. Now, when we had that one off, we saw no water flow flowing anywhere. So we cannot see any evidence that this one or this one are pumping water. We can't see where the water's coming in, and we can't see where the water's going out. So that is supposedly doing these filters. Except we know that pump was on and it seems to have stopped. But when we had these pumps on, we couldn't see any water flow. So I have no reason to believe these filters are actually even working. And how long they've been not working, I have no idea. So I need to find out if it's possible for that to block a line. As far as I understand, it should put pressure in the line, which should just help the water go up. So the one waterfall pipe that's working is clearly coming out there. And that's the only pipe that we can find which is pumping water at this stage. So my concern right now is I can't see where the filter could be releasing. So I'm worried that the filter is actually working at all. So getting a copy of the plans so I know where the filter is should be shooting out would be super helpful. So here is where the waterfall that's running goes in.
You want me to put the pump out?
No, I think we're okay with that. So there's the waterfall that's running. There's another water feature here that's not operational, and there's another water feature up the top that's not operational. So knowing if your fish are too skinny is very important. That one there is very skinny. This guy here is okay.
Yeah, that's a good video.
You show all the signs of old. There's only so much you can do, Eric. So as a quick summary, I think the water quality is actually quite good. I think the health of most of these fish is quite good. I think some of these fish are a little bit skinny, and I think that the fish in question is very old. And a fish was lost a month or so ago, and from the description there, I'm going to assume that one was pretty old as well, because this pond has been here for many, many, many years. So there's every possibility that these fish could have even been bought together 10 or 20 years ago. And you don't know that they're not 10 or 20 years old when you get them, especially if they were a decent size. Okay, so testing this water, pH is something that we're very concerned about. That's the acidity of the water. Over time, we do not want the water going acid, or the acid can burn the fish. High range pH we're not worried about because these are not high range pH tank. Next is ammonia. Ammonia is first degree fish waste. So when the fish produce waste, they produce ammonia. Then bacteria should break down in the filter, but if the filter isn't working, in this case with such big waterfalls and so forth, the water running down the waterfalls and all over the pebbles are going to grow bacteria. The bacteria is going to break the ammonia into nitrite. Nitrite is second degree fish waste. Then either the filter working or the waterfalls are going to help break the nitrite into nitrate. So there's different bacteria here. Then the nitrate is going to be reduced by the water changes or by the formation of denitrifying bacteria within the floor of the pond. So if any of these levels come up, then we're in trouble. So basically we want the pH to be at least 7.2. You can mark there, so at least 7.2.
So 7.2 or that way, or 7.2?
That way. So at least 7.2?
Or
Yep.
down?
Yes. We don't want it going yellow.
Yep.
So this not so good, this is bad.
So from here there, from here there.
Yeah, not so good. Now, this one we don't worry about. Now this one is ammonia. We want that to be 0. We don't want waste in our water. Nitrite, we want 0. And then nitrate, we really want as low as we can, but let's say 20 down. The higher, the worse. If those two go up, then that means either we've got too many fish or we need to increase the filtration. And oxygen is a big thing with these ones because the bacteria is what breaks this waste down. And the bacteria needs oxygen, so we need lots of oxygen in the water. Now here, if the nitrate comes up, that could mean that you need to do more water changes. And water changes are like backwashing the filter, where you actually take water out of the pond and replace it with fresh water. Topping it up is not a water change. And when new water goes in, if it's only a small amount at a time and you add nothing, it's not the end of the world. If you go doing a water change and removing water, and you go adding like 20% of the volume, you must add water ager. Otherwise, you're risking putting chlorine in the water, and the chlorine and chloramone can sterilize the good bacteria and can make the fish sick or kill them. Now, these ones are all what's called colorimetric tests, so you're comparing the color to the color chart. But then when it comes to KH, it's a titration test, so you're actually counting the drops. So for a koi pond like this, I would want the KH to be at least sort of 4. 4 to 6 is great, 8 is fine. But if it starts going 0, then we're in big trouble. Now, GH is also a titration test. And in this case, the level was about 8. So that's a pretty good level. I'm pretty happy with that. If it was down near 0, I'd be very worried about it. Because these things are going to help the stabilization of the pond, help immune system, body slime, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So in this case, the pH was nice and blue, so it was nice and alkaline, so the pH was good. The ammonia was yellow, so that's good. The nitrite was 0, so that's good. And the nitrate was sort of towards 0, so that's very good. So all in all, the water quality here is really quite good. So the quality of your fish is always exactly a combination of 50% water quality and 50% nutrition. So improving the quality of the food can help a little bit too. So if you do have a big pond, giving it a vacuum with a pond vacuum on a semi-regular basis is a really good idea. Making sure that you have very good water ager for your top-ups and water changes, and the higher quality your food, the healthier your fish will be, and the more colourful, resilient and vibrant they'll be. So arranging a vacuum is really going to be quite a good idea at this stage for this particular pond. Now, fish keeping is 50% water quality and 50% nutrients. So feeding very high quality foods like New Life Spectrum or Danichi is my highest recommendation. So quality, non-processed, not pressure cooked foods is my first thing. Holistic style. Now, assuming you've got a good quality food, then the next question is, how much do you feed? So when you're looking at your fish, if you see the gills, and we're talking about koi at the moment, or any fish you look down on, if you see the gills and we've got a little bit of a belly and it's holding its weight out towards its tail, that's very good. If in doubt, make a video and bring it down to Majestic Aquariums and we can have a look at it and advise you. Now, in saying that, if you see the gills and you start seeing a belly, in general, that will mean that you're feeding too much. So if you're seeing the extrusion, and it's okay if one of your fish are a bit fat and one of your fish is a bit skinny, that's fine. The average fish is what I'm worried about. But what I don't want to see is the gills, and then I don't want to see it go in. So when you see the body thinner than the gills, that means it's underfed. If you see the belly too fat, that means it's overfed. So once again, if in doubt, make a little video, bring it down to us at Majestic Aquariums, or even email it to us. We can just review it and just tell you if you're feeding too much or not enough. Now, when you're feeding not enough, the next question is you can chuck a whole lot in at once, or you can feed more regularly. Now, if you're worried about one fish getting all the food, then it's probably better to feed, say, all in one go and spread it all out. But you do need to watch the fish. If you see the fish are not getting it and they're very slow, then you might actually decide the other way around, and you might decide to feed twice a day and to spread it out. So while you're feeding, you want to keep an eye on the big fatso and make sure he's not eating it all, but you also want to keep an eye on the skinny one and make a decision on what you're doing. Now, the other thing is that if you're feeding your fish high quality foods, the gutsy fat fish will eat the nutrients that it will eat what it needs, and then the waste that comes out of that big fat fish, assuming that good quality ratio of nutrients go in, that means the quality of the poop of that fish is still high, which means if the other slow fish eat the poop of the big gutsy fish, then they'll still be healthy. But on the other hand, if you're feeding low quality foods and some of the nutrients are deficient in the food, and then the big gutsy fish eats the food, and then the other fish are eating the poop from the big gutsy fish, then eventually those other fish will get sick because they'll be void of various nutrients. So that's another reason why the quality of the food is half of fish keeping, and the quality of your water is the other half of fish keeping. Now, when you are feeding fish, you have to consider the size of the pellet. So some fish are going to go better with the smaller pellet, some fish are going to go better with a bigger pellet, and some fish are going to go better with a sinking food, and some fish are going to go better with a floating food. So if you chuck some food in and it's just the same fish getting the food, then the next thing you could do is spread the food out so the other fish are getting more opportunity to get the foods, and to feed sinking food if the fat fish are getting all the floating food, or floating food if the fat fish are getting all the floating food. So you just want to be aware that there is different sized pellets and there is floating and sinking foods. So if you can spread it out more, so therefore the fatso is not able, if you just chuck it all there and fatso gets it all, then it's making it harder for the more timid fish. If you feed there and there and there, then you're making it easier for the more timid fish to get the food. But there's no real answer here. You sort of have to see how your fish react. And the most important thing is just take an interest in it. You got to be interested, and you got to watch them, and then they will tell you and give you hints for what to do next to make sure they're all healthy and happy. So we've got a grow formula here, and while we've got some skinny fish, it would be good to fatten them up with the grow formula. And then the top pond, the fish all look very healthy, so you could feed them the basic formula. And then just a combination of the two is going to be absolutely fine. But the next thing you need to be aware of is the enemy of fish food is oxygen and wet fingers. So make sure whenever you're handling the food, make sure it's very dry. Otherwise, just use a scoop. And you need to make sure that you seal the top. So if you open it up, you've either got to fold it right over and peg it, or put it in a sealable container. Because what you don't ever want to do is let the food get exposed to oxygen, because over time the vitamins will oxidize and your food will go stale. So once the plumber has seen the pumps and the plumber has worked out how to get these pump working and where the pump is going, then we can further our strategy to slowly improve this pond, and adding an extra water flow down here to get a bit of kinetic energy. Now what kinetic energy is where you put a pump in and you angle the water so the movement of the water creates the movement of the water. And like a big Awasa water pump would be really wonderful. And you want to aim it slightly up to agitate the surface, and you want to lower the surface tension, stop all these bubbles, and then you want it to move around so kinetic energy is being created. Now one thing with a pond is a lot of the fish, they love to scavenge in the bottom of the pond, and it is really important that you don't let the substrate of your pond get too dirty. Now in this case, we've just given it a really good stir up. It's not too bad. It's actually pretty clean. I would be interested to see how long this has been since it's had a vacuum, because every now and then you definitely want to be giving it a vacuum, but from what I can see, it's not too bad. People just love enjoying. You see, in the time that I've been here, all the kids and the people, the fish just bring them so much enjoyment. Yeah. Now Perry is very competent to look after these fish and to make any necessary changes. He also has the interest and the capability. So I can train him. So any regular maintenance can be done by him, assuming that he's here. And then on a semi-regular basis, or if he's concerned about something, he can just give me a call. I can pop out and help rectify whatever the situation is.
Yeah, then she will send it to, she will let me know.
So here we've got some pre-filter baskets on all the filters. So they just need to be checked on a semi-regular basis and cleaned when they look dirty. The filters here need backwashing on a regular basis. We're assuming at least once a month, but probably getting inside and having a look at the condition isn't going to be a bad idea too.